Okay. We're holding the Gimel Amid Aleph. The Gemara is asking a question. According to Chizkiah, Hezek Shein Anika Shmei Hezek. Right? That at a Torah level, if a person brings it, causes damage, even though visually it's not in the physical sense, it hasn't been physically diminished, but halachically it's been impacted negatively, that causes a devaluation of the value of whatever it is, you consider it damaging. Right? So if you take a sheretz and put it on true of a Kohen, you're a damager on a Torah level. If you have a paraduma and you put your jacket on it intentionally, that's, even though visually it's the same animal, since you disqualified it and validated it, you're a damager. Okay? So now, one of does malacha with the water that was drawn for the paraduma. Uve paras chatos. Or with the paraduma, paras chatos. Pote b'deni odom, chay b'deni shamayim. He's exempt on a human level, meaning he cannot be prosecuted by the court. The court doesn't adjudicate the case. But chay b'deni shamayim. But in b'deni shamayim, if you don't want to be punished, you better make good.
Who would he be chayav money to?
The hekdesh.
Oh, he's chayav money to hekdesh.
Or whoever drew it, right? Let's say a person didn't give the paraduma yet to the basic English. Whoever the owner is, he has to compensate them. Okay? So b'dini odom, he doesn't have to compensate anybody. B'dini shamayim, so Rashi says some b'dini shamayim. B'dini l'shalim, he has no obligation of restitution. Chay b'dini shamayim, pur onus l'shalim l'ushoyim, sheniskaven l'hafsidus Yisrael. Here, meaning the Puronis, there's going to be tragedy upon this person to l'shalim l'rishoyim. It's divine retribution against the rishoyim. Sheniskaven l'hafsidus Yisrael. What's your intent? What was your intent? Was the man lost? Even though he's circumventing it, because you can't prosecute him. But nevertheless, b'dei Shemaim, you better straighten it out. Same thing. Be the same thing. There's only an example of this. No, said the Gemara. If you're of the opinion that a damage which is not manifests itself in physical, it's considered a damage. One second, stop for a moment. The obvious question is, after everything's said and done, rabbinically, right, we exempt, right? Rabbinic, this question is a question even on the opinion. No, because again, we say that Mazid even has a Shenik which may has it. Right? So you have to say here this Brisa is not differentiating between Mazid and Shogik. Wait. So evidently, so somebody should learn, we're speaking on the Doraisa level. This Brisa is speaking on the Doraisa level. Right? On a rabbinic level, we should make differentiations. Because the Mishnah says, Mazid is Chayav, inadvertent is Potter. And here it says, no, B'dinei Odom, they can never prosecute you. Never. That means even if you do it deliberately, they're not able to prosecute you. Right? Well, so therefore, it's only a question according to Chizkiah. It's clear this Bryce is speaking on the Torah level, correct? Because it would be on a rabbinic level, we should differentiate between Shogig and Mazid. Deliberately, we said, if you'll hezek shemdikah shmei hezek, Mazid chayav Potter or the other, because he's not going to tell the person. Right? Here we're not differentiating. It says the person does lawful mechatz parschatos. At every level, he's exempt. The court cannot adjudicate him. Right? That includes even Mazid. And according to the opinion that hezek lo shmei hezek, you're not a damager, but rabbinically, you are a damager. But Mazid. Right? Mazid, because otherwise a person could wreak havoc on a community. We said earlier. And there's no recourse.
Never.
But here it says never. So evidently, what's this price is speaking about? It must be on a Torah level. On a Torah level, hezek she'en nikar, he can never be prosecuted, regardless of what his intent is, deliberate, inadvertent, cannot be prosecuted. So clearly it must be hezek shein nikar lo shmei hezek. Right? On a Torah level, he's not a damager. Where you affected halachic damage. Halachically, it's been infringed upon. Tuma, paraduma, whatever it may be, right? Contamination, or you did work with the animal, and therefore it's disqualified. It's invalidated.
So in our Mishnah, when these cases are on the Eraisa level, we would say that one is part of those things at the Eraisa level. But we would say
Even
that
deliberate.
But we wouldn't say if someone did something deliberate in these scenarios that they're not chayav b'dei shamayim.
B'dei shamayim will be chayav. The Mishnah is not saying b'dei shamayim.
So what has
The Mishnah, no. It says poter b'dinei odom. You're exempt. The court cannot adjudicate it, whether the damager did it intentionally or inadvertently. Now, correct? But on a rabbinic level, we do make that differentiation, right? The Mishnah says.
What's this? And the Eraisa, if this is the Eraisa level, it's not adding anything to our Mishnah.
No, it's not. It's just a brisa. From this brisa, seemingly you see that hezek shein nikar is lo shmei hezek, right? Because if it's shmei hezek, it should say yichayev b'dinei odom, right? And if we're speaking rabbinically, you should make a differentiation between mezid and shogeg. He's not making that differentiation. It's clear we're speaking on a Torah level. On a Torah level, a hezek shein nikar, are you a damager or you're not a damager? It says the court cannot adjudicate the case. You see, he's not a damager. So this would refute Chizkiah, who said Chizkiah is an Amora. You see here, you see hezek shein nikar is lo shmei hezek. That's the first question. V'yamr hezek shein nikar shmei hezek b'dinei odom nami l'chayev. What does it say? You're exempt. B'dinei odom, the court cannot prosecute him for the damage as a damager. He should be liable according to Chizkiah. Who mosiv lo, who mefarak lo. He poses the question, and he resolves the question. The one who asks the question, Rabbi Lozer, he answers to reconcile Chizkiah with the brisa. Parash echniso l'Ravko, am nashetirik. V'todush mechat v'todush. What happens if a person takes the paraduma into a corral, a pen, and in the pen there's wheat. So he wants, his intention is, the animal, and he's bringing the paraduma to nurse its young. That's not malacha. The para is a female. It's nursing its calf. But simultaneously, there's wheat there that has to be threshed, and it would thresh. So what was the actual action? Everybody agrees to be mazik, you have to do an action. The action of bringing the paraduma into the pen. Why did you bring the paraduma into the pen? To nurse its young. The other is that's called grumma. That's only an after. That's an indirect cause. So therefore, that's the reason why you potter. Because even if a person directly causes damage, but if the end result is indirect cause, you potter. Just make a difference. There's no separation when it comes to mazik, right? And that's called grumma. Grumma is indirect cause.
What's the work?
It's threshing the threshing this wheat in the pen.
So he's walking around.
No, while it's nursing, it threshes its legs. The cow lies down. Whatever it is, it's threshing wheat. It's doing. Well, let's say while it walks into the pen, it steps on the wheat.
Okay.
Right? But the intent of the person, the action bringing him into the pen was to nurse its young.
Correct.
So what was the action? Hezek shein nikar is when you do an action, and the action is to damage. Right? The action is synonymous with damaging. Here, the action is called nursing its young.
Correct.
There is also other ramifications of this action. Right?
So are we saying that is?
No, so that's not.
No.
That's the reason why it's not. That's why it's not chayav b'dinei odom, because that's only grumma.
That's considered.
No, it's possible. The animal is possible.
Possible because of that?
It's possible because factually the animal did work. Because we're saying b'dinei odom, he's potter, but b'dinei shamayim. If the animal is not affected negatively, why is he chayav b'dinei shamayim? No, even deliberate. We're talking on Torah level. On Torah level.
The animal's possible because it's fresh. Because they had to get to where it's going, but it's fresh.
His intention was it should only thresh also. But the action is only synonymous with what? With nursing. Nursing its young. See, the whole halacha, we said, hezek because I do an action, but the consequence of the action is not visually obvious. Right? It's purely halacha. So that's the discussion. Is it are you a damager or not a damager? Here, the action is I'm bringing the mother in to nurse its young. That's the action. So that action is not called an act of a damager, but there is the ramifications of the action, the consequences. It's threshing also. So the animal, because it's threshing, and my intention was that it should thresh, is disqualified. But since that's called indirect cause, therefore you're potter. It's no worse than any other
So
grumble.
it disqualified the part of
But
the...
if you didn't have that intention,
Wait, you don't have that intention, then you're potter. You're
the
potter.
animal's still okay.
The animal's still okay. Okay? Mechatos. Mechat sheshokol b'mishkolos.
Last thing you just said, there was no intention, so it was flung on the animal.
Let's say,
No intention, it only went to nursing.
and the animal happened to thresh one there.
You're doing a lot
So that's the
Oh, okay. So that's...
happened to
animal disqualified.
animal didn't look on its own. An animal's grazing and it sees wheat and it starts kicking the wheat. Not disqualified.
Not
It's
disqualified.
only if there's intent of a person that it should do melacha. Okay? Mechatos. So what's the case of the water? The water that was drawn to be used for the paraduma cannot be used for anything other than that. Sheshokol b'mishkolos. He went, there's a question what this is. He went and used it as what? Water displacement. But we're going to make the differentiation. Did he put the meat in the water and the water rose? Or it was like a counterbalance?
Now, is this the water before the ashes go in it? Or is this the water to...
No, even
Yeah.
before.
So you designated water before the ashes to go into it, and that is considered
That
already...
water, no.
made,
That water cannot be used for anything but for adum.
Even before the ashes are in it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about an issue. The water has to be watched in terms of purity, tyra, everything else, and it cannot be used for anything but that. Okay? V'omer Rava mechato sheshokal bohen mishkolos kshero. Yeah, it says in the Brisa here that what? That Yechai b'nei Shemayim. So evidently there is damage. Except it's called grama, right? Rava says that if you use it to sheshokal mishkolos kshero, it's not even considered damaging. It's not even damaging even on what? Even on a grama level. So how do we reconcile Rava with the Brisa? The Brisa is if you use, and you tell me, the reason, the case of the water, it's only grama. And what's grama? Shokol b'mishkolos. Right? He used it to figure out the weight. The Rava says it's kosher. So kosher means that you're not even chai b'din shamayim. Because he says the water is still valid water. The gufon masakov here. There's a difference whether you put the meat directly in the water. Let's say you put meat in the water, and now you want to know the weight of the meat, and you determine that by water displacement. Right? That's the water is invalidated. But if you go and use it and you don't directly put it in the water, let's use it as a counterbalance, then it's kosher. Because you did not do an action to the water itself. Using means directly using itself. Like even before threshing. The animal factually is threshing the wheat, and your intention was to thresh. So the action, you didn't do the action, but an action is taking place. Here, indirectly, you're figuring out what the weight of the other thing is. On the other, it's using it as a counterbalance.
Something totally non-paraduma.
Right.
What is counterbalance?
The scales, weight scales, right? You put weight on that, you take something equivalent, then you know exactly that it's equivalent of the other thing. Somebody asks, If you hold hezek shen nikar is shmei hezek, you should be liable b'dinei odom. Yeah. So, factually, if the water is being invalidated, 1 second. He's asking, and we're speaking about, he's differentiating whether you put the meat in the water or you put it opposite. But when you put it in the water, you do an action directly to the water. So if that's the case, but if you hold hezek shen nikar shmei hezek, you should be chayim according to Chizkiah. Right. Rava says it's kosher, so we have to answer Rava. So Rava, you say, he holds hezek shen nikar lo shmei hezek. That's the reason why you potter. You're only chay b'dein shemayim. When you chay b'dein shemayim, when you put it directly in the water. Right? But if you use it as a counterbalance, it's kosher. So you're not chay. But according to Chizkiah, that hezek shen nikar shmei hezek, when you do an action directly to the water, even though visually there's no physical change in the water, that's called you're a damager. So why you only liable in the eyes of Hashem? You should be liable in court. You should be prosecuted. That's the first question. We've reconciled a contradiction in Rava, but in Chizkiah, if it holds hezek shen nikar shmei hezek, you should be liable for damages as a damager. We're speaking about it's used as a counterbalance. Yeah. So as a counterbalance, you didn't do an action to it, right? Now, the Gemara says it has to be mishmeres l'meinido. It has to be mishmeres. It has to be supervised that the water is being used for the paraduma. What happens if the person leaves and forgets about it? He doesn't leave it. I'll give you an example. The Gemara has a discussion in Psochim if a person leaves truma unattended truma. If you put it in a location where you lock it up, where nothing could affect it, no contaminated source could come out. That's a mishmeres. It's called supervised. Visually, the man is not there, but he put it in a protected location. It's always constantly supervised, protected from contamination. Whatever, if you leave it in an open location, and somebody can pass by who's contaminated, to come in contact with it, even if we find out later nobody did. According to one opinion, it's possible the truma. The truma cannot be, because it's possible b'hesed hadas. No. Truma, and you need mishmeres. It says mishmeres trumosai. It has to be continuously supervised. Exeris hakosub. That's called, it's possible with hesed hadas. The other person says, the other opinion says no. Truma does not. If later it's revealed that the witness who said nobody came in contact with it, then it's kosher, it's valid. It's the same thing. Let's say the witnesses, it wasn't their responsibility to watch it. And they said, look, nobody passed by, nobody touched it. According to the opinion that it has to be supervised, it's possible. Even though factually nothing came in contact with it, it's contaminated. Another one, the other opinion says no. Now what? No, it has to become contaminated. It didn't become contaminated, it's still valid in the truma. That's maklok samoroim and the Gemara in Sochi. It's the same thing. The question is over here by Porah, the made Porah. He uses a counterbalance, and he made sure it should not be used for anything else, and he was always watching it, supervising it. So it's kosher because that's not called using it. What about he used it as a counterbalance, and he used it like any other thing? He forgot. He didn't view it as mechatos. He thought it was ordinary water. That's hesed hadas. It's possible cannot be used any longer. It always has to be watched and supervised as water that will be used for the paraduma. Okay? Now, we discussed the halacha is if a person steals something, and the item is worth $10 when you steal it, and when you return it, it's worth nothing. Let's say the market price, the market falls. Do you have to compensate the person who you victimized for the differential in the value? The answer is no. As long as you return the object, it's not a problem.
Because the object you grew back up.
No. Because Torah says you only have an obligation of restitution if the item is not there to return. You return the item, it's not a problem. No. Now, what happens now? I steal something, and I physically alter it, and that alteration diminishes it, causes it to be worth less. Right? So I stole something worth 10, now it's worth 5. So I could use the item as payment, but there's a balance. You have to make up the difference, right? To pay the full value. Okay, good.
And if the opposite, if you modify the object and it's worth more than when you stole it.
Then you keep the profit, and you only pay the value at the time that it was stolen. Right, now, what happens now? Gozel Madeya, Vinifsa. Person steals current coin, and the government discontinues the coin. So the coin's worth nothing. Right? It's been devalued by the government, nothing. Truma Vinitmes. Person steals Truma, and it becomes contaminated. Not even he contaminated. He's a thief. Chometz v'avolav Pesach. Person steals chometz, and now it's the possession of the Jew, the Ganav, the thief. And now, so it becomes Yisur Ano. Any chometz which is possession of a Jew, if it's not transferred out of possession rabbinically, you're not permitted to benefit from it. So it's valued to nothing, to zero. After Pesach. During Pesach, after it doesn't make a difference. The thief could take the item, present it to the original owner, and says, I'm returning what I took. The matter that you took something worth a fortune, giving back something that's worthless, it doesn't make a difference. Since the item is intact, you can present it with what he stole. Okay? So if you hold Hezek Shenik Lo Shmei Hezek, if you say that unless there's a physical diminishment, if not, the Torah doesn't see you as a damager, good. So you can return what you took. That's called intact. But if you hold Hezek Shenik Shmei Hezek, that you see it as a damaged item, you're not returning to me the same item. It's like visually the item has been physically diminished. Right? The Amrit Hezek Shenik Shmei Hezek. The thief should have to pay currency, restitution. No, not because a spiritual diminishment, halachic, not spiritual, halachic diminishment is equivalent of a physical diminishment. So if that's the case, I mean the Gemara is a little bit difficult over here. It's a chiddush. Now, why if you alter a stolen item, why can't you return the item? Because there's a Beheshiv Agzela, it's a Beheshiv Agzela Asher Gozal. You must return the stolen item that you stole. So Mor says it has to be Kein Shagozal. It has to be in the state, identical state as when you stole it. So therefore, if you make an alteration, positive or negative, if it's no longer in its original state, it's not that item any longer. So now you have restitution. So now, even if you hold Hezek Shein Nika Shmei Hezek, right? But is that called Kein Shagozal? Maybe Kein Shagozal means in the physical state. Physically, no alteration has been made. Right? I mean, that's the way you'd be able to respond to this question. Right? Even if you hold Hezek Shein Nika Shmei Hezek, as a damager, you're damaging. But factually, since there's no physical alteration, it's the item. But you see over there, it goes hand in hand. If the Torah recognizes you as a damager, that this item is viewed as diminished, so that's the case. It's the equivalent of physical diminishment. So it's not Kein Shagozal. Therefore, the Gemara says, how could he present it with the chometz or any of these items after Pesach? Factually, it's not the same item. Okay, and that's the Gemara says Tiyufta. It seems to be from this Mishnah. Chizkiah is refuted. Tiyufta means he's refuted. It's proven wrong. This would prove Rav and Rabbi Yochanan and Hezek Shein Nikar is Lo Shmei Hezek. There's a tshuva responsive many years ago. We can see for this one, even though it didn't happen in Munkach, it happened in Russia. That people for Pesach they sold the chametz to non-Jews. So there was a community where there was a Jew married to a shiksa, to a non-Jewish woman, and she was the shiksa. Everybody sold the chametz to in town, and the halacha is, we say, that a woman who's married to a man, whatever she acquires, immediately it's transferred into her husband's domain. So there's a whole discussion. So all the Jews sell the chametz to the wife. So, and all the chametz immediately transfers to the husband. The husband's a Jew, even though he's an apostate. He believes in nothing. It doesn't make a difference. Wait, Moshe correct his tshuva 300 years ago. This response we could write it. Okay, so he says, but factually, it's only if it's a marriage. It's not a marriage. He married a Gentile. But in Russia, in the time of the Tsar, the law said that all the wife's assets belong to the husband. So based on Dina Malchus Dina, everything's transferred to the husband. So if that's the case, all the chametz of the community should be chametz Shabbat Pesach. No Jew should be able to benefit from his chametz after Pesach because it was the possession of the husband throughout Pesach. Because all the assets of the wife transferred to the husband. That was the shayla. What? So he said, he cites a Rashba. The Rashba says, even if a person is not an observant Jew, even you're apostate, after Pesach, his wife would sell the chametz back to these people. So what's his benefit? The Jewish husband, what benefit does he have? He only has liability. He has no benefit. So therefore, whenever we say hefker bezin hefker, we transfer it. They can't force the transfer. They can't force it into your domain. The husband says, I don't want it. I'm not interested. We could say with certainty, since it's a full liability, he has no financial gain. He doesn't want it to be transferred into his domain. So if he doesn't want to be, we could say with certainty he doesn't want it. That became his chametz. That remains the wife's. Even if you say mashkonsi shkona Bible, whenever the wife acquires, it's transferred. That's only if the husband has it. But over here, if the value is purely detrimental to the husband, we could say with certainty he doesn't want it. So if that's the case, where does it stay? It remains in the domain of the wife. So as a result of that, all the chametz was permitted. This truth was 300 years ago. It's called Shvus Yaakov. Okay? But the Gemara says in Ksubas, what about Yerusha? That's automatic. You can't say, actually, I'm not interested. Inheritance transfers immediately. Anything which is purely a rabbinic enactment, let's say the husband has certain rights to the wife's assets, let's say the Nichsei Belug, and the husband says, I'm not interested in taking any of hers. It doesn't transfer, because that's a gift. That, they want to gift it to you. You can't impose a gift on me. But something which is, because you take the place of the deceased as an heir, that it happens automatically. You acquire it. If you want to disown it, you disown it afterwards. But the moment the acquisition takes place, it's the acquisition. Right, it's a rational. He wouldn't want the liability. So here it says, that this discussion, if Hezek Shed Nikos Shmei Hezek or not, Machlokes of Rabbi and Chizkiah is a Machlokes Tanoim. If Hezek Shed Nikos Shmei Hezek or no Shmei Hezek. Hametame v'amedame v'amenasech. When a person contaminates, a person takes trumo wine and he intermingles it with kosher wine, regular wine. Hamenasech, which we discussed before, what menasech and evil libations, or he takes yain nesech and adds it to kosher wine. Echad shogi v'echad meizet chayv di Rameir. Rameir doesn't differentiate. Whether you deliberate, inadvertent, you chayiv. Review domain no. Shogi potor, v'meizet chayiv. He makes a differentiate on an inadvertent level. He's potor, deliberate level he's chayiv. Sim, what's the argument? Evidently, if you hold hezek shein nikos shmei hezek, right? There's only one way seeming to understand. See, in review though, that he differentiates between shog and meizet, you can learn as we said before. Hezek shein nikos shmei hezek, except we penalize him when he doesn't be meizet. Rameir, even though we said before, even if the old Chizki says b'shogig, you're not liable, because we want him to inform the person that he contaminated, right? So you say Rameir rejects that. But if Rameir says even shogig yichayev, evidently clearly he must hold, there's no basis to penalize him. So if there's no basis to penalize him, so why yichayev? B'shogig, evidently because he must be a damager. You follow what I'm saying? Before Chizkiah, how do you reconcile the Mishnah with his position? If you hold hezek shein nikos shmei hezek, so why b'shogig are you potor? That was the most question on Chizkiah, right? So Chizkiah explained, because we want the damager who did it inadvertently to inform the damagee that he contaminated his truma, otherwise he's going to get isser, right? Rabbi rejects that. But even if you reject it, if you hold hezek and yikolosh me hezek, why are you liable? So evidently, if a mayor holds even Meshogig, you're liable, he must hold hezek shein nikar shmei hezek. Right? That's why he doesn't differentiate whether Shogig or Mezid. My boka mifli. The mars of hezek shein nikar shmei hezek remains of the opinion that although it's only halachic diminishment, it's considered you're a damager, and therefore he has full liability. Mar sova review lo shmei hezek. Right? Omer Rav Nachman Yitzchok. Seemingly that would be the argument. Omer Rav Nachman Yitzchok kuli alma hezek shein nikar lo shmei hezek. Even a mayor concurs, unless if it's purely halachic, you're not a damager on a Torah level. So why does the mayor hold that b'shogeg yichayv there's no basis to penalize her? We penalize even b'shogeg because if not, we're so stringent because we don't want you to confuse shogeg and mezid. Come here for me. Mar sova konsa shogeg and mezid. We'll leave this for tomorrow.